I was so excited to become part of the CavanKerry family, and part of it is that the books are so beautiful. I just want to pet this. It has some little special velour covering on it that, and it just feels so good in the hand. They make wonderful books, and I was very honored to be invited to join. And part of the reason it feels like a spa treatment as a poet is that there's an editor, which I had never had in my previous press. And he gave me 3 alternate tables of contents for my collection. And you know, as a poet, you only make your table of contents forever many times you have a book. It's not a skill that you get excellent at. But this editor, Baron Wormser, was very excellent at it and suggested that we do 3 poems in the beginning that show the themes of the book. So I'm going to start with one of those. It's called On Leaving the Newsroom. I was a reporter at the New York Times for 10 years, and for 10 years before that at other papers, and took the buyout in 2009 to write nonfiction books. It is magic writing news. We have an honored front row seat in life, the chance to walk through the bat cave for 6 hours, seeing the last ceilings full of brown bats mysteriously dying. What a privilege to listen to someone tell of brain injury, grief, monster trucks, or false imprisonment. A gift to read the actual suicide note, hear about a beau who's the cowboy kind of quiet, watch the drips fall off of Michael Phelps's perfect shoulders, hear good luck from the flood victims who need it more than we do, attend a nocturnal bird migration concert, know a little bit about just about everything, start with rumors and end with reality, swear by precision, become incapable of fibbing, ask with abandon, and take notes on talkers more profound than any of our imaginations. Then distill, discuss, dither over it, and hit send, so 1,000,000 can know what we learned. Here I learned that Muhammad Atta's eyes looked so dark no one could see his pupils. Here I learned of the girl who would not take off her father's necktie because it smelled like him before he rushed into the burning tower. You can't buy a front row seat like that, a priceless seat, rarer and rarer. And for 20 years, they paid me to sit or stand or run or sprint and use that keyboard. So few are this lucky. And I think I will read the last poem in the book, which is called Charmed. And it has an epigraph from John of Damascus, 750 AD, his hymn lyrics, which read, "Let all things seen and unseen, their notes of gladness blend." It's kind of about death, but it's also kind of cheerful at the end. Why does anyone have to leave a world so stunning? A world serving up breakfast all day, diamonds forged from cremains, cirrus clouds to overlook from a plain, frost fairs on the frozen river Thames, world with haiku hiding in the clouds, specific angels overseeing only honey, only 10th birthdays, where, standing in the right fountain, you can see a rainbow ring bloom from your feet, world with truffle salt, with the bright lines that river water flings on tree trunks, a world that lets you drive the clotted roads of the carpool and gives you the relief of turning really loud music down, where, if you're sick, people you know turn cussedly kind, making it harder than ever to leave. A world where you may, with any luck, die on a screen porch on a warm, windy day. Thank you.
Susie. My sister Susan is 51 years old and lives with a black family in Poughkeepsie, New York. The family adopted her. They're getting paid to care for her, of course. And truth be told, Susan is getting better care today than at any time in her life. Carol and I don't really know how to relate to Susan because we see the very bad schizophrenic girl who terrorized our childhoods with screaming fits, hair pulling, biting, and unidentified flying objects. Of course, she is a mentally retarded, autistic woman who people see as sweet and innocent. For some reason, I show my friend Jack Weiler the anecdotal psychiatric history of Susan that had been sent to me by the newest in a long line of social workers, which includes statements such as, the mother was described as sensitive, overprotective, and depressed. The father appeared to be submissive and also overprotective on initial interviews. There is a strong history of mental illness in both families. During testing, Susan's behaviors were noted to be bizarre. She engaged in rocking, tearing paper, jumping, spontaneous whirling, facial grimacing, inappropriate smiling, and looking over her shoulder in a fearful manner. She sat for hours sucking her thumb while wetting her pants. Susan spent most of her time rocking and talking to herself. She was autistic and appeared to be in a world of her own. And then the phone rings. And when I come back, Jack is crying. Now, I hate it when men cry in front of me, but I really hate it when men cry about how fucked up my life is. Jack explains how it just seems as if Susan is not all that crazy, and it was my parents who were somewhat crazy and didn't know how to deal with Susan's behavior. I become defensive and explain to Jack that while my mom and dad did not fit the stereotype American dream family, they did their best and did what they could. At this point, Jack is so far away from where I'm at that I realize he couldn't possibly comprehend the difficulties facing a poor immigrant family, particularly my immigrant family, so I stopped talking. Having read many psych reports over my life, I know that they have a tendency of making everyone involved with the insane seem insane themselves. Then, still wiping the tears from his eyes, Jack tells me that he understands why I never clean up around the house, and that every woman he's ever known would not put up with my sloppy behavior. But now he understands why my wife Caroline accepts my behavior, and he knows when I say I don't see or care about the mess surrounding me, I really must be telling the truth. I pour Jack another drink. And I begin to think it's Jack who is insane. He's the one who irons his t-shirts. He's still wiping away tears, and I feel guilty for not having the depth of character Jack has projected upon me. I don't like doing housework because I'm deeply lazy. It's not my mother's fault, but I don't tell Jack today because I don't want to disappoint him. The mother in Susan's new family is named Hala, and she is about 7 years younger than me. And she takes Susan to the mall and to church, has painted Susan's fingernails bright red, and her friends accept Susan as part of the family. When outsiders see Susan, they don't see the monster that Carol and I see. I once showed my wife pictures of Susan, expecting her to recoil in horror. Carolyn betrayed no emotion. Doesn't she look insane? Look at her. That's how a mentally ill person looks, I coaxed. I guess, was all my wife said, shrugging her shoulders. She didn't see what I saw. Caroline and my boys have never met Susan, though I regale them with amusing anecdotes about strange things Susan has done, like plastering American cheese slices on her breasts as she took a bath, or screaming in such a high-pitched decibel level and tone after a cop pulled me over for going through a red light that he bumped his head on my car and let me go without a ticket. I don't tell them about how Susan once pulled my hair with such force I thought it would tear right off my scalp, or how when she was in school she painted the walls of the bathroom with shit and my mother was called in to clean it up, or how she caused Mom to have a nervous breakdown by almost throwing me out the window, or how she made the first 13 years of Carol's life a total nightmare in her role as little sister from hell. Carol and I drive to Poughkeepsie to visit Susan. She smiles, rocking back and forth before she starts crying. I want my mommy, I want mommy, mommy. Carol and I reassure Susan that we too miss mom, but she's not here, but we are here. And we always will come to visit our Susie because she is our sister. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to start with The Lunatic Ball, after Dance in a Madhouse, by George Bellows, who is a painter who lived from 1882 to 1925. Furious dancing gives way to screams. 5 men stare ghoulish at the wall. This is the lunatic ball. The best student Yale had ever seen. 3 months after graduation, typhoid, brains swelled inside his skull. They dosed out calomel. 5 ghosts appeared in a mercury dream. Headaches unbearable. This is a lunatic ball. Married 1 year, baby the next. His wife filed for release. The medical textbooks he gleaned, futile, endless stall. A woman names her baby doll Christ, lurches, leans. A building in an earthquake, then she crawls. This is the lunatic ball. 1 man plays a flute, calls himself Faunus. Another uses an invisible latrine. Attendants call out a wild man in a straitjacket on a wooden beam. A woman growls like a bear. This is a lunatic ball. Behind a glass wall, well-dressed spectators riveted sit amused, looking at them, looking. The patients know they are through. Spectacled men sport great coats, and laced up women make jokes in the shimmering hall. I think it's important for us to remember that it's spring, and I wanted to read one paean to spring about a field of daffodils that I knew when I was a child. Wind innuendo. So small she cannot talk, the child sits in a field of daffodils. Her face, held close to the blossoms, turns slightly yellow in sunlight. Pollen grinds into her hands, stems tickle her backbone, thread into her skin. The thick strings of stamen lick her tongue. Her petals bend, always in wind. To the insects that enter, each movement is innuendo. Her body opens and opens, swills in the billowing spring light. One of my former brothers-in-law who is an attorney, represented a woman who was accused of murdering her husband with an axe, and this poem conjures up some of the forces that might have impelled her. Splitting wood. It was the thought of his entering their infant's room that drove her. She remembered his face the first time she saw him, now half gone from whiskey, eyes hooded like a hawk's. He said he'd kill the children when he woke. The neighbors heard it, the screams. They heard. His workman's hand, his gnarled hand dangled down. The knife lay by the bed. She slipped from the covers while he slept, placed her feet on the floorboards, just so. The dogs barked outside, snapdragons, flowered tongues, and all the wired faces of the past strung up. The axe hung on the porch, woodpile nearby, each log plotted, uneasily entwined. The children's tears were rain, tears were watering the parched hills. The wild moon foamed at the mouth, the wild moon crept softly at her feet. The arms that grabbed the axe were not her own, that hugged it to her heart while he slept were not hers. The cold blade sinking in his skin, She grew up in the country splitting wood. She knew just how much it took to bring a limb down.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you all. What amazing readings. I am so proud of my CavanKerry poets.
You should be.
This is all new work. New meaning past couple of years, because basically anything that's written after your last book is new work. But my last book was a few years ago. Rituals. Morning begins with him grabbing his bag and reminding me to take my meds, ship ID, and license. Leisurely breakfast, cab to tour bus. Several stops later, he's frantic. My bag! Did I have it? How can I be so stupid? His long frozen mother rising again, so sad those voices erupt, and we're children hating ourselves. It's human, happens to everyone. I'm yelling, pleading, anything to meet that viper. A brain flash, the cab sign said flywheel. I shout to the clouds and the crowd surrounding us as the cabbie pulls up, flashing the bag. Flat back. I miss balance. Sure-footed. The clipped remark of my boots against the pavement. The straight silhouette in storefront windows. I've lost 3 inches between my fused spine and stooping. The years plowing me under. Unseemly, yes, but it feels like that sometimes. I want to hype myself up on the side of the pool, not shy away from my neighbor's pickup. I miss my round tush in my Ralph Lauren dress. No way! Your butt's never been globe-like. Fun's in the family. Shovel butt, I'm told. And I miss pretty shoes, black patent pumps, red sandals. They're finally making style in my size. But I turned around and my ankle had to be fused. Arthritis after a break. Not that I don't love my sneakers. Yellow and red, banded with silver. My uniform these days. Sensible, but routine. Like marriage sometimes. I want an affair. Seductive, dazzling stilettos. Forget it! It'll take another surgery to straighten those toes, in full view in sandals. But black patent pumps, the strength to walk in them, the assured pitch of my back, gliding in perfect balance, the long stretch of me, strutting that bulkhead, feet slapping the stone. Life's full of promises of sun, chance of rain. My relationship with my husband. The ease of 38 years, sunny mostly. We've reached that stage where fighting's rare. Side by side, speaking love in all its gestures. Him searching out my perfect spot, where it's only me, a few gulls, and the sea. Such gentle language. And tomorrow there'll be another perfect spot, and another the day after. Then me sauteing onions to top his steak or salmon, freezing buckets of wild rice and pesto so we never run out. But we did. These last weeks, when poems were the only love I had time for. But I'm back, and so is he. I think I'll close this notebook for a while.